Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. I know, good to see you too. Just hush, we got to get to it, y'all, because the top story nationally is sort of us. It's the midterm convention is now the talk of the town because we have some new details on it. And I just had the guy, John Gruters was on, the RNC chairman, national chairman, was on yesterday, and he was like all tight-lipped about what's going on. And then overnight, they released some of the schedule. So one of the things we've learned is that JD Vance is going to do the keynote speech on the first night, Wednesday, September 9th. Thursday, September 10th, Donald Trump is going to give the keynote address. But also we learned that Donald Trump will be here both days. So Donald Trump's coming to town, and you know who else is coming to town? My first guest, the great Joe Pags. You hear him on WBAP at 8 o'clock every day. Thanks for stopping by the James Show, Joe. So you're coming up here too. So you're going to be broadcasting your show live. Are you in the convention on the radio row with us? Never seen it for a midterm, and I was expecting something like CPAC, but I don't think they're going to have all the booths set up. I was talking to the RNC chair yesterday, and I think one of the big differences in CPAC is the level of security that's going to be going on around here. Did y'all have to jump through some extra hoops to get your booth yet, or is that something Sam took care of? Do they know you by now? You should be like, bro, I'm Joe Pags. You don't have to run another background check on me. All right. You're like, come on, Joe Pags. I'm like number 7 on the heavy 100. Well, the thing that's going to be different here is I work here, and I think they're going to like put up all kinds of fencing and have snipers on the roofs and maybe some ninjas under the desk. So I haven't had to work in these conditions before, but you've been, under the watchful eye of the Secret Service. Is it really going to get in the way? So Joe Pags, the rumor, if you listen to some of my Team Blue friends, is that the Republicans must be scared because they've never had a midterm convention, but they're having one now, and they're putting it in Texas because they think Tallarico could win. Is this really about Tallarico? Well, I one of the most difficult things that you have to overcome every election cycle is just the ubiquitous media narrative against anything that's team red. And so I don't even think there's anything special or demeaning about James Tallarico versus other candidates. It's just we have so many low information voters go out there, and almost none of them know what you just said, Joe. Well, when we have the meme lords go off online, the consensus between those guys tends to be that Tallarico is just Beto but gayer. Beto. Beto. All right, Joe Pags. We have the midterms are notoriously bad for the incumbent party. Even if he does well, do you think Donald Trump keeps both the House and Senate? Hmm. Gain a seat in the Senate. I think that's the first time I've heard anyone make that prediction. But where would we pick it up? Minnesota, maybe Michigan. Flanagan. Joe Pags, what's coming on the show tonight? I got to wrap it up here. You're coming on in a few hours. Dang. All right. Joe Pags. You can hear him at 8 o'clock from 8 to midnight here on WBAP. Thank you, sir. Coming up next, the midterm convention is all the talk online. I'll let you hear arguments for people who are excited about it and people who are making fun of it, and think for yourself. Coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, this midterm convention is the talk of the town. Well, the talk of the nation. You know what I'm saying. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. It's September 9th and 10th, 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from yesterday. The first midterm convention from either major political party is happening where I'm sitting right now. I'm at the American Airlines Center. Like when you walk into the American Airlines Center through the front door, you know how there's the offices on either side, like a little 5-story office building. I'm in one of those. And it's pretty cool in the fact that I get to observe what this top security apparatus is going to look like. And I'm allowed to tell you some things. I'm already not allowed to tell you some things. Did you read all that stuff, Garrett, from the Secret Service that we had to fill out and stuff? Are you to keep your mouth shut about certain things, or did you just sign it and not read it? All right. But you have to come in because it's only the people that have to be here that are going to be allowed to be here during the convention. And look, you can't blame the guy. He's already had like 4 different people try and shoot at him. But in this one, if you're a person that can do your work from home, they're telling you to work from home. Now, I am happy that this is getting so much national attention. I think that's absolutely fantastic. However, not all of it is good national attention, and I feel like we need to run through both of these. First, just the straight up sterile, not opinionated look at what's going on. This is Mike Carter from Newsmax doing a report, just because, we're excited about it. I'm excited about it. It's happening at my work. We're going to get all kinds of awesome guests on the James Show and WBAP these 2 days. It's going to be really cool for you, too. But the rest of the nation, they're starting to catch on, too.
The greatest rally of them all. 2 nights of showcasing key Republican races across the country, the men and women who are running in those races, and the voices of everyday Americans who want to ensure that President Trump's agenda is still supported in Congress. Overnight, the RNC releasing details of the programming for this midterm convention set for Dallas on September 9th and 10th. Vice President Vance will deliver the keynote speech in Dallas on night 1. Meanwhile, President Trump, he'll appear both nights, making the keynote address on night 2. Good morning.
Okay, so that's news for us. We did not know that yesterday. Donald Trump's going to be here both nights. All right, so pretty positive there. Your Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, in Texas today, actually a little clip of him was rolling around social media feeds where he's hyping it up for some of your neighbors down there. And look, Mike Johnson's not a guy that is going to get anybody like super excited, but I'm just playing this to let you know, this is the talk of the town. When the Speaker of the House is going on his visits this morning, he brought it up.
All of our stars across the stage. We're going to highlight the great work of people like Monica De La Cruz, okay? Yes. We're going to talk about what we've done for the people. And then the president's going to look right into the camera and say, I am on the ballot, okay? Because even though his name isn't, right, his administration, his legacy, the American First agenda is. We got to get people to turn out. Last hopeful point. All of our stars across.
So let's go to the negative side of the coverage here, the reaction. Now, someone pointed out that among the stars that were listed for the convention, they must have done a copy and paste job because at some point it was claimed, I didn't see this when I went and looked, it was already scrubbed. But someone online had said Marjorie Taylor Greene was listed as one of the speakers, and that would have made sense at the last convention or the convention before that. But she has been on the outs with Donald Trump and on the outs with Republicans and the Republican Party altogether. And not that she's gone squishy liberal on you. She's kind of run further to the right. And in this one, this is the negative about it. But this isn't the negative about the midterm convention from Team Blue. I don't even have to tell you what that is. It's racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, literally Hitler. But this is actually worth a discussion here. The Republican Party has turned off some of their voters. Is it enough to cause them the Senate seat in Texas? Is it enough that it can't be overcome with the midterm convention? Is it enough that he's going to lose the House and Senate? Well, that's yet to be seen. But this is Marjorie Taylor Greene making a case that isn't going to be made either on MSNBC and CNN nor on Fox News. But I'm curious to know how many people feel this way because, well, let me just play it for you.
You guys are not going to believe this. This literally made me laugh today. So let me tell you what I just found out. I found out that my name is on the website for the big GOP convention being planned in Dallas, Texas, coming up for the midterms here. And so, yeah, my name's on the speakers list. And I found that absolutely hysterically funny. And I was like, well, what kind of speech would I even give? I mean, imagine being a Republican campaigning right now. What do you campaign on? Do you campaign on no more foreign wars while the president drug us into a war with Iran on behalf of Israel? Is that what you campaign on? Do you campaign on affordability, lowering the cost of housing and groceries and gasoline? That's pretty hard to do, especially under full Republican control. Affordability has not gotten better. Cost of housing hasn't gotten better. And gas and diesel is not better at all because of the president's broken campaign promises and betrayal of him running off and going to war with Iran and bombing a children school, blowing up a bunch of kids and then totally denying it or claiming it's under investigation. What else do you campaign on? Oh, wait, stopping the trans agenda on children. Well, it's kind of tough when Senate Republicans refuse to pick up the bill, my bill, as a matter of fact, that would make it a felony to perform transgender surgeries and treatments on anyone under the age of 18. My bill passed the House, but Senate Republicans haven't touched it. And oddly enough, Vice President J.D. Vance, he was the leading Senate sponsor when he was a senator. So odd they haven't touched that one. Maybe they really don't mean it. What do you campaign on? The Maha agenda? Oh, wait. They gave full protection to glyphosate. Kind of hard to campaign on Maha on that one. And COVID vaccines are still running rampant because it still has FDA approval. And then they approved another mRNA vaccine for the flu. Jeez, I mean, where do you go from there? Oh, we could talk about putting America first in our food supply, except the president just threw American cattlemen under the bus and is now going to import a bunch of foreign mystery meat, I guess from Argentina, oddly enough, where they just sent the meat back because it had problems. Even China rejected Argentina's meat. So it's pretty tough to find things to campaign on. I can't imagine what kind of speech I would give, which is why I won't be giving a speech at the GOP midterm convention in Dallas. So they need to take my name off of the list.
They took her name off the list. But there's the back and forth. And I'm not in a position to fight back against a whole lot of that. I think about half of that was spot on. In fact, I would add a whole lot more. But it's not just the Republicans. If you're a Democrat, you have a lot of the same gripes as well. Now, you understand this because I'm assuming you're on Team Red, or at least Team Red sympathetic. Isn't it a little odd that the party that's supposed to be fiscally conservative seems to have no interest in balancing the budget, not even reducing the deficit or cutting the deficit in half? What big cuts have they made? When more than 70% of our budget is socialism, I think there's some big cuts that are on the board that should be on the board that they're not even talking about cutting. But did they put forward a bill to repeal Obamacare? How about just repeal Obamacare? Put that on a bill, everyone vote for it. No, I haven't tried that. They can't get the SAVE Act passed and 80% of the country wants it. That's a literal 80-20 issue. Over 70% of Democrats want that. We can't get that done. I can't really come up with a whole lot of reasons to vote for Republicans without mentioning that the Democrats are worse. I mean, they're not completely failed like she was saying. The part that she was leaving out is, hey, stock market is at all-time highs. Our border is closed. Deportations are happening. So it's not a total loss. But how would you sell this? How would you sell this to the low information voter, the casual observer of politics, whose vote's going to go in and count just as much as you, but they don't know why they should be excited or even listen to this midterm convention? We'll talk about that next on The James Show. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. Right now, it's 100,000 degrees outside. You would be saving money on your electric bill if you had Rhino Shield already. Well, the past is the past. I can't go fix your August electric bill, but we can go ahead and make the call, have them come out, fix up your house now So you'll save all that money in the future. And this winter, when it gets cold, you'll be happy you have Rhino Shield. When it gets hot again and it's 1,000 degrees next summer, you'll be happy you had Rhino Shield. You will go through this cycle for at least 25 years because that's what the warranty promises. But really, we don't know how long the stuff will last. It's a new space age technology, and you'll just do it once and never have to worry about it again. So don't paint your house, coat your home. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. The talk of the town is the midterm conventions that are happening 2 weeks from today. Where I'm sitting, American Airlines Center, we have learned since yesterday's show that Donald Trump will be here both days. So J.D. Vance, keynote speech on day one, Donald Trump, keynote speech on day two, but we're told that he will be in town for both of those days. That's your big update there. Now, on my personal level, just talking to you as a WBAP listener, we're going through some pretty cool security protocols around here that I haven't had to jump through before. They're running a background check on me, and so I don't know what they're going to find. I mean, in Bug Tussle, do we even have permanent records or backgrounds to check? I mean, we don't even keep records out there. We still... Like, my first modem was a speak and spell. Jack in Euless, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Yeah, James, I'm concerned that when we get these people like the one that got her name taken off from being a speaker.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
This happens on both sides of the aisle, but J.D. Vance in particular, if he sounds like he changed his mind about something that he previously was supporting, on a bill that's coming up, it's not because he doesn't want that bill passed. It's because of what's in the bill that they're not talking about, quote unquote, that everybody knows is called pork. Let's talk about the pork. That's probably why J.D. Vance changed his mind about something or didn't vote on something that she was referring to.
Yeah, and that's so frustrating because both sides do that, and this is the problem you have when we roll all these bills into these omnibus. If we voted on these individual issues one by one, they wouldn't be able to do that. But Jack, you and I know why they don't do that, because they would dismantle half the government if it was actually held to account in a solo fashion. So yeah, you're absolutely right. But look, half of Marjorie Taylor Greene's criticism is legit though. And Jack, I hear a lot of this from my Democrat friends as well, and thank you for calling in. Let me spell out how this shows up with my Team Blue brethren out there, because I have a lot of Team Blue friends. I work in media for the last quarter of a century. My hobbies are music, so guess what? Musicians, pretty staunch Team Blue constituency there too, and other things I've been interested in. They're almost all blue stuff. So I have plenty of these friends, and you know what they gripe about? You know how we gripe about it? Like, why didn't they, after they lost the birthright citizenship case in the Supreme Court, why didn't they immediately turn around, write a bill, and try and pass an amendment that ends birthright citizenship in the Constitution? It's so popular, it just might pass. They don't even try. And it's, you know, the cynical people out there think, well, they don't want to solve the problem. They want to run on the problem. And my Team Blue friends say that about the Democrats. I'll give you a good example: abortion. Your entire life, all of your Democrat friends have just wanted abortion to be legal. They've just and at no point did the Democrats, even when they had the House, Senate, and presidency under Obama, they never sat down and wrote out a law that said abortion is legal and then tried to get it, not even vote on it, not even present it, not even get everyone on the record of where they stand on it. They haven't even tried for 5 seconds to actually accomplish what is one of the most emotional and powerful issues that they have. And the cynical among us make a similar conclusion. They don't legalize abortion because they don't want legal abortion. The small d Democrats want legal abortion. The big D Democrats, if that issue ever gets resolved, they lose power. They lose an incentive to get you to vote for them. How many women would consider the Republican Party if the abortion thing was all settled and passed and behind them, if they didn't have abortion hanging over their heads? Well, the Democrat Party doesn't want to find out, so the Democrat Party doesn't really do anything about it. But how do we win people over that are on the fence? I don't know. I think you have to be more like a Marjorie Taylor Greene than the go along to get along to go along type. The other crazy subplot that is happening here locally around the midterm convention is this idea on Monday in the city council. There's a finance committee meeting, and they were mentioning that it was cost $1.8 million for the Dallas Police Department. And that's just the preliminary estimate that was put out at the finance committee meeting on Monday. And so the local media, and to their credit, not our news partners, WFAA, they weren't caught up in this garbage, but some of the other media outlets were saying, wow, Dallas estimates $1.8 million in security costs for the national convention. Jeepers, what a drain on our society. Remember, it was just earlier this summer that if you had thousands of people come to and attend a giant event, this was an economic stimulus. Yes, we had to come up with $100 million new dollars for DART improvements and light rail improvements and police overtime and barricades and all this other extra around it. Oh, but don't worry about that spending. We will get that back in multiples because of the economic stimulus that happens when all these people visit. However, if you have 50,000 people visiting to go to the Republican National Convention, it's like, oh, what a bunch of parasites. They're going to be a drag on our economy. Oh, I get it. So it's only good if non-Republicans show up to visit, or y'all just can't say anything nice about Team Red, can you? And how could you turn what is obviously an economic stimulus? The city, the businesses around here, they're all going to benefit and make more money off of this event that wasn't going to happen, that wasn't on the books until recently. It's just a gift out of the sky for the businesses around here. They got to turn it into the negative. Look at how they all turn into fiscal conservatives, fiscal libertarians. When jeepers, $1.8 million for security for the national convention. Oh man, I don't know. We'll have to check with our accountant on this one, guys. Jeepers, I don't think we can come up with it. $75 million for a WNBA practice gym. Oh yeah, we've got that. Oh no. Geez, Parker, we're not broke over here. This is important. This is women's basketball. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Ted Cruz addresses the data center backlash. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. A couple quick notes here. Start your day with the WBAP Morning Show from 5 to 9. Another quick note, the midterm convention's coming to town September 9th and 10th. Donald Trump will be in town in Dallas, where I'm at right now, 2 days in a row. And I also have one of my screens in here in the WBAP mothership affixed on Fox News where it says, we are awaiting a verdict in the Lindsay Clancy murder trial. So if you're interested in such things, you'll be getting that update any second now. But the midterm convention, they're really ramping up the coverage of it now. It's a good thing. This is something that I believe that we are going to be seeing on a regular. This is going to be the norm. This is my prediction. In 2 years, of course, it's going to be the presidential election cycle. And of course, both major parties are going to have a convention. Hell, even the Libertarians are going to have a convention. And then I bet you in the next midterm cycle, if you remember this, trying to remember this, in the next midterm cycle, both major parties are going to have one of the big conventions. And this is just going to be the new norm. Stick with me after I talk to Ken in Arlington here. I'm going to play you what Senator Ted Cruz said on the data center backlash. But to the phones we go. Ken in Arlington, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, there wouldn't be any pushback if the mayor of Dallas didn't switch parties.
What do you mean, pushback on the convention? Of course there would be. They wouldn't start liking Republicans and happily funding their security just because the major...
But they wouldn't want an ex-Democrat turned Republican going to a Republican convention. So they're going to throw every thing in their way to say, okay, well, we're not going to pay for security of this, even though we can't pay our employees. It used to be a 5-day work week. Now we want them to do a 4-day work week. And if you could see the moon through the cloudy sky, you have to take the day off. Oh,
no, I like that attitude, Ken, but I think they would be the same amount of animus toward the Republican convention, whether or not the mayor had switched parties. But our mayor is one of the more interesting political figures that we've got going on in Texas right now because he did the switch. But Ken, I always felt like the switch was inevitable. I was working, I was working at a TV station, and we used to get his press releases in the newsroom. And I was like, are we sure this guy is a Democrat? Are we? Because it would say like the mayor of Dallas speaks out against the defund the police movement. It's like, wait a second. That's not a Team Blue talking point. What is going on here? And it was just press release after press release. And for a year, I felt like he was chumming the water and setting that up. And not only has he switched to the Republican Party, I went to one of the little events, the Republican National Convention Committee, the people that actually set up all the events and booths and whatever. They had an event for the media 2 weeks ago, and he was there, and he actually spoke at this very internecine Republican subculture event.
Sure, and I mean he's just like he's another African political commentator, and he does a bunch of posts too, and he switched parties and became a Republican, and they're throwing him underneath the bus as well too. I mean, hey, I would love to see who is it, the one in Fort Worth, your friend Lawrence or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Lawrence.
There.
There's a lot more Lawrences out there than make it on these media platforms, and their numbers grow by the day. Thank you very much. That's Ken in Arlington. Now, I want to be the first guy. Hopefully, I'm the first guy to play you this clip. Because some people out there, you listen to talk radio all day, every day. You might have heard the last 30 seconds of this clip already, but it's just icing on the cake. So I backed it up, and I'm going to play you about a whole minute, almost a minute and a half before that. So this whole clip's almost 2 minutes. But it really is not just the icing on the cake. I'm giving you the cake underneath. And I don't quite agree with the last 30 seconds, but it makes a lot more sense if I play you the whole bit. And if you hadn't heard this already, you're going to hear this last 30 seconds elsewhere too.
And from China's perspective, they want us to never build another data center and basically cede all of AI to them. That would be a bad outcome.
So is
what are
Ken
real
Paxton
concerns?
Or Governor Abbott falling for Chinese propaganda?
No, because if you look at what they're saying, I agree with what they're saying. The concerns the voters have are twofold on data centers. Number one, water. Number two, power. Water is a very real concern. Here's the good news. Virtually all new data centers being built use what's called closed loop cooling, which means they use the same water and just circulate it over and over and over again. So their water consumption is very, very low. I agree with Governor Abbott, who's putting rules in place that say if you're going to build a data center, you have to minimize your water consumption so you don't consume too much of the water from the community. That makes sense. Number two, voters are understandably concerned about electricity prices. Electricity prices have risen 30% since 2021, and a lot of people are struggling to make ends meet. I agree with what Governor Abbott has said, which is no new data center will be built in Texas unless the impact of that data center is zero, is absolutely not 1 penny added to anyone's electricity bills. I think that makes sense. And I'll tell you, I'm urging the companies that are building these data centers go further than that. Make the benefits absolutely clear and indisputable. I'm urging them send checks to the residents of the community. Send them $100 a month, send them $500 a month, send them $1,000 a month, or even better, say if we build a data center in your community, for the rest of your life, your electricity bill is free. We will pay your electricity bill. That's how you win the PR battle, is you make the benefit. Suddenly people will be like, hot diggity damn, I like that data center because I don't pay a power bill. That's how you win these fights.
All right. Now, obviously, I don't agree with that last part, but the cake underneath the icing, I thought was solid arguments, and it means more coming from somebody else besides me, because I know you don't agree with me, and I'm kind of a questionable guy, and I got it. It's whatever. So if you don't believe me, you believe what you just heard from Ted Cruz there? And really, if you want to win over communities these days, you know, big cities, small towns, medium-sized towns all together, you don't come in and build a data center and then take your excess profits and build more electricity or cover their electric bill. What you want to do is you want to cover their Ozempic. Yes, free Ozempic for everyone in this community if you let us build a data center. Oh, my goodness. Have you seen all your neighbors on Ozempic? They would... The 5 of them that aren't on Ozempic, they'd be just walking around with the syringe hanging out of their neck half the day, I bet. And that is an exaggeration. This Labor Day, $1,000 could be yours. Enter now for your chance to win and make your holiday weekend even better. It's the national contest. Go enter at WBAP.com. It's in the headline rotator at the top of the page. Sponsored locally by the good folks over at Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. Coming up next on The James Show, we're going to have a very abrasive debate next over, are Indian immigrants really a net good for Texas? I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Are Indian immigrants good for Texas? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Don't get shy on me now. This is the kind of important conversation that we don't need to be shying away from. And the question could have been asked 20 years ago and you'd get a much different answer. Because if you don't have a giant influx of immigrants, a lot of the problems that we discuss that are going on now don't exist. If you don't have, because for those of you who just stumbled onto this show for the first time and have no idea what's going on in North Texas, when I first started in radio in 2002, Frisco was 2% Indian immigrants. Now it's a third, like 33% Indian immigrants. And that's not just a small detail. These are people with a different culture, different language, different way of dress, different religions, different holidays, different sports, different everything. And it's drastically changing many of our towns here in North Texas. The question now becomes, is it changing them for the better? Back in 2002, when it was just 2% of the population, it didn't matter what religion they were or what music they listened to or what holidays they went to, or, you didn't have to worry about them if they're the majority of a school's population. Does that, because there are some schools in the Frisco school district that are overwhelmingly Indian immigrants, like far more than half. So do y'all even celebrate Christmas anymore? Or do you do the Festival of Colors or Diwali, or how does this work? So a lot of these issues are only coming to the forefront because we've had a ridiculous amount. Hundreds of thousands of immigrants have moved to these enclaves in North Texas in the last 20 years. And this is where the convulsions are coming from. So Chris Kerner, he's a guy, he has a podcast called The Kerner Office. Get it? Because it's Kerner and Kerner Office. But it's about building a business, and he owns like a bunch of RV parks, and he built a subdivision. He seems like a successful guy. Seems like a guy that actually, it looks like a pretty good podcast here. But he was making the case in favor of Indian immigrants. And now this deserves all kinds of context that I can't squeeze into such a small segment here. But if you want to compare Indian immigrants to other immigrant populations, sure, it gets worse. But let's just focus on this one group, because Chris Kerner writes, it's becoming uncomfortably racist here in the Dallas suburbs. Here are the facts. Okay, so I already don't like it. Is there a way you can criticize a group of people who aren't white without being called racist? Just tell me how to do it, and I'll do it. I can't stand. I'm not racist. Almost nobody that is making this criticism is racist. So please don't aggressively misinterpret and demonize the other side of the debate before you even get to your points, but he did. All right. He says Indians are 2% of DFW and own 5.3% of its businesses. See, I love this minimizing thing. Yes, it's just 2% of DFW. Sure. If you count everyone in the WBAP broadcast area, there's 8 million people. But if you concentrate 200,000 of them in Frisco, it's a different story. He says DFW's Indian population more than doubled from 2000 to 2010 and is at 220,000 today. Well, that's a low number. Asian Indians are the majority in many Frisco subdivisions, and Frisco is one of the wealthiest, fastest growing suburbs in America. In Frisco, where Indians are the largest Asian group, the Asian median household income is $190,000. Median home is $642,000. Poverty 3.5%. Name the DFW suburbs with the most Indian families: Frisco, Plano, Allen. Now name the ones with the best schools and highest home appreciation. Same list. They're literally providing more jobs and paying more in taxes per capita than the average American. They're overwhelmingly here legally through the most vetted visa process we have. Really? This is what ruining the neighborhood looks like, apparently. The real reason no one can afford homes here is but we need to build more houses, and nearly half of DFW construction workers, also immigrants. Yeah, but not Indian. The people getting blamed for the housing shortage are the ones framing the houses. That's an unfair conflation, and you know it. My wife and a friend recently hosted a nonprofit children's entrepreneurship market. Guess who most of the winners were? Yup. Isn't America supposed to be competitive? They make us better. The H-1B visa program has real abuses, but families in Frisco aren't the problem. Mark me down as pro-Indian. So Steven Crowder did a clapback on his show that he posted yesterday. Now, I'm going to read you some of the stats that he typed out. And then next, I'm going to play you the audio of him responding to Mr. Kerner, Chris Kerner. And then I'm going to turn it over to you. Overall, are Indian immigrants a net positive for North Texas? All right, so here's some stats from Steven Crowder. He says, Chris, you cited GDP and home prices like that's the whole picture. It's not. Indians donate about 1% of their income to charity. The average American donates 4%. Church-going Christians making under $100,000 a year donate in the range from 5.4% to 11%. $32 billion a year gets remitted from the U.S. to India. And you can see what he's making the case that they have money to send back to India, but not to donate to charity here. So they're just coming, taking resources and sending it back to there and not adding to our communities here. Hang on. He also says Plano and Frisco were already top-ranked Texas school districts back in 2010. The median household income in Plano and Frisco has been over $100,000 since 2010. And at no point did you explain how any of this actually benefits America. Maybe because you're too busy peddling your get-rich-quick courses to have a real answer. I don't know. He might have a good podcast. But the back and forth on this, I find pretty interesting. I'll play you the audio of Steven Crowder's clapback, and then I want to hear from you. On the net, on the whole, of course some of them are good. Of course not all of them are bad. Of course some of them aren't good. Of course some of them are bad. But on the net, where are we on that sliding scale? Is it a net positive or a net negative? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we're talking about if Indian immigrants are a net positive on North Texas. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Now, let me tell you, before I play you Steven Crowder's clapback to the list of statistics from Chris Kerner, I think they can be. If we use the immigration system, I think in the spirit as it was written, the answer to this question would be, of course they're a net positive. But they sold to you the H-1B visa system. This is going to be only for jobs that employers can't fill, that if there's a specialized set of skills and we just don't have enough Americans to fill it, and we tried to offer to Americans, but there wasn't enough, programmers or whatever it is to go around. And geez, if push comes to shove, it's better to bring in someone who can do this, and we can keep this commerce going. We can keep this company going. And that's not what it's been in practice. In practice, what it's been is twofold. Number one, if it's a skilled job that American already has, he can be replaced with a much cheaper person under the H-1B visa program, even though someone already had the job. And that's what it's been used for primarily. Secondarily, you've also noticed how many of these people coming here working no-skill jobs are here on H-1B visas. The guy at the gas station, the guy driving your Uber, the guy doing your DoorDash, the guy that shows up in all of these other unskilled jobs. What is he doing here? How many of those are H-1B visas? So it's a lie. It hasn't lived up to what it was supposed to be, especially considering that computer programmers, and I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Americans out there with a computer science bachelor's degree have a higher unemployment rate than the general population. This is how much the H-1B visa system has been abused and how much it is a lie. And because it does that, because it has replaced and destroyed the careers of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of computer science programmers, engineers, and other somewhat skilled jobs, I think it's a net negative. I think if it was used as intended, it would be a net positive. But when all you're doing is importing people to destroy the lives, careers, retirement savings of American families needlessly, of course it's a negative thing. Now, let me play you Steven Crowder. And if you want to add in your 2 cents, 800-288-9227. But Steven Crowder has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And I like it. We should. Because I wish, because what Chris Kerner was saying, I think it came from a good place, and he wanted to come out with some statistics that made his Indian neighbors look good, and he was just trying to be a nice guy. But do they ever talk about you like this? There's no one on Team Blue that has ever gave out a list of statistics on how white male Americans are a net contribution or good for society. Have you ever seen it? Show it to me. Send me the link, and I'll offer a retraction before the end of the show. But part of this, the chip on the shoulder, comes from they never talk about you like this. And that should tick you off. Steven Crowder.
Indians give charitably or donate about 1% of their income. Compared to Americans overall, 4%. They give a quarter. Compare that to church-going Christians, particularly in red states, where this is a topic of concern. It's about 11%. So people in Texas, church-going, conservative, God-fearing, good guy God, Christian God, Americans, are very charitable, and you see a bunch of Indian immigrants, again, just discounting the fraud, the degree mills, come in, and they are clutching, wrenching, covetous old sinners. We allowed to care about that? Hey, let me ask you this. You ever done business with them? I know businesses here that have to have different policies.
Yeah.
For Indian immigrants and neighbors. You know why? Because they start negotiating after the contract, and they go, well, actually, but look at this, there's a dent, and so I'm going to pay you nothing.
Yeah. It's happened to my dad multiple times. He's been scammed.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
You know why?
Credit card chargebacks.
It's okay to do.
Yeah.
It's okay to game the system, especially if it's a white Westerner. This is regardless of income level. Poor Christian conservative Americans give more than rich liberals. And poor conservative, middle class, or wealthy conservative Christian Americans give about 10 times more than Indians. The remittances from America to India, about $32 billion a year. Hey, That sounds like a significant chunk of change.
They have the money, they have the disposable income, but they send it home. They don't rebuild this community. They loot this community and they send their loot back to the country for which their allegiances truly lie. Now, I think if we're talking about Somali immigrants or Haitian immigrants, I think everyone understands that's a net negative. But for Indians, you got to give them credit. At least they're not on welfare. At least they're not dragging on the system. They're not opening leering centers. But I think I lean on the, because of the overuse and abuse of the H-1B visa system, I think this is a net negative. 800-288-9227. This is Cassie in Argyle. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hi, James. Does no one remember 9/11?
Yeah, that wasn't done by Indians.
Who was it done by then?
Muslims. Well, most of them are from Saudi Arabia. A couple of them were Yemeni. I think one was Egyptian, but none of them were Indian Muslims. They were Muslims, but so your point half stands. Anyway, go ahead.
They hate America. They want to destroy America because they want to turn it into something else. And yes, they're very nice. They can be very nice. But it's all a facade. And the sooner we realize this, the sooner we're going to wake up and say, no, we are not going to let you take over our country. And 9/11, sorry, but they came from over there. And no one should be trusting a single one. Now, let me say on the flip side.
You got 30 seconds.
They are here. God allowed them to be here. God made them just like he made us. But they chose to come over here and kill almost 3,000 of us. They hate us. They do not want America to stand. And the sooner, like I said before, the sooner we realize that and take a stand and stop accepting all the niceness, because I think it's fake. And may not with every single one. I mean,
of course not with every single one. But no, and we have to be able to speak in generalities, Cassie, because someone's going to call in. They're going to argue. They're like, no, I know a guy and he's totally nice, or I've known this family for my entire life. Not everyone's fine. But every country where this has happened, it has not ended up well for the native population. They've taken over around 50 countries, and it's the same pattern every time. And you're not going to like how it ends up, especially if you're gay or female. All right, more on the conversation. Is the influx of Indian immigrants good or bad? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, you're about to get some hot opinions from your neighbors on our current question on the James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP, and the question's not a difficult one. Indian immigrants, are they good for Texas? I don't mean on an individual basis. I don't mean your best friend. I don't mean the guy that's making some sort of scientific breakthrough at Texas Instruments, working on some new semiconductor project. I'm talking about the hundreds of thousands of people that have come into North Texas, most of which are taking jobs that were previously held by Americans or otherwise would be held by Americans. They are displacing American workers. They have driven computer science professionals into one of the highest unemployment rates, higher than the national average. People with a computer skill. We're told we need to import hundreds of thousands of people because we don't have enough people for these skills. Well, that's obviously a lie. So unskilled people are coming here and taking the jobs of unskilled workers. You see it with the truckers. You see it with Uber. You see it in about 28 other instances that you see it at Dallas ISD. Really, we need to import a janitor from the other side of the planet. Like, I have like 5 people I'm related to that really need a job right now, and I would love for them to be a janitor at a school. But when it gets to this level, then no, it's not a net positive for North Texas. You have a bunch of people that are coming here. They're not assimilating. You know, look, they're building mosques. They're building Hindu temples. We have freedom of religion. What am I supposed to sacrifice that and keep importing people to come here and take our jobs? No. How about we stop this, reverse as much of it as we can? And if we have to pay a little bit more for our computer programmers, then fine. If we have to pay a little bit, it's the same thing as the other illegal immigrants, like the Hispanics that come and pick our crops. If I have to pay a little bit more for a carrot, then it's totally worth it. But let's see what your neighbors think. Ron in Dallas, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Are Indian immigrants good for Texas?
Hey, James, first-time caller. They can be if the H-1B system is used the way it should have been used. You're right. I'm one of those computer science people that, every year I wonder if I'm going to be replaced with an H-1B person. And, I've been lucky enough to have been doing this since 1995. And in that time, there was a time when I had recruiters calling me constantly, but now none of them do because, well, I'm not an H-1B person. If I move back or if I move to India and applied for an H-1B visa, it wouldn't be so bad.
Just tell them you are. Well, look, there's a couple of advantages they have with the H-1B visas. And not only do they get to pay a significantly lower salary, but they have these people locked in. You own them. Because if Ron in Dallas goes and he works for EDS or Intel or Texas Instruments or any of the other awesome companies that have their headquarters here, and he gets a better offer from some other company, he's out. But the Indian immigrants, the Indian H-1B visa, they're locked in. They can't go to, it's not as easy for them to switch jobs and go to another country. I have heard tell of them doing so, and I have heard tell of them coming down and just doing contract work and jumping from contract to contract. But you also have a group that's going to be a little more behaved because at any point the employer can revoke the H-1B sponsorship and send them home. So they have a more obedient, slavish workforce that's also cheaper. All right. Thank you, Ron in Dallas. Let me get some more calls. Martin in Euless. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Thank you for taking my call. And I've mentioned this before, and I'd appreciate a little bit of latitude. So as a legal immigrant that spent 17 years of my life going through all the hoops that were placed before me to get here, this subject is very sensitive to me. The bottom line to this is real simple. If you cannot pledge allegiance to this country and this country alone, then you don't need to be here, period, end of sentence. And as far as the freedom of religious business goes, I get it, but there is a little bit of a caveat. Not all, but many of these people do not recognize our Constitution and demand that they are allowed to live in epic cities under Sharia law. If you're not willing to live under our constitutional system of law, once again, you should not be here and you need to leave as quickly as possible.
You
End
know,
of sentence.
I think that is the great litmus test. If you want to live in Sharia law, get the hell out. This country's not for you. There are 50 countries that already have Sharia law. Go live in one of those. And it's the headscarf thing. You know, I saw a white lady wearing a headscarf the other day, and she looked just super duper American. And that made me wanted to just bang my head against the nearest grocery store shelf, because I was thinking, you have traded in a culture of freedom and women's liberation and equality and voluntarily gone and put yourself in chains. What is going on?
I was just gonna say this. One of the things that's really curious to me is where's all the feminists at? I mean, if you're a feminist and you're embracing Sharia or the Muslim culture,
and the gays, you think the gays are like, we have queers for Palestine? It's like, are you insane? That's it.
Yes, the answer is yes. They are insane.
Oh my goodness!
And it's pathological. Listen, my country of origin is dead to me. I will not fly my country of origin's flag ever at my house. I have my American flag flown 24/7, 365 days a year. When it rains, I take it down. It's lit up at night. When
Hey, Martin, I got to step aside. You sound awesome. What's your country of origin?
Germany.
Germany? I didn't see that one coming. All right. Well, thank you very much. That's Martin and Euless. I have a bunch of other people on hold who are going to tell you their thoughts on the big question of the hour. Are Indian immigrants good for Texas? I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. I know what you're going through. You're getting older. You're trying to stay active. You're trying to get some exercise. You're trying to have some hobbies. And I don't know what you're doing. If you're walking, if you're jogging, if you're hiking, if you're playing pickleball, if you're just trying to keep up with the grandkids, if you're trying to lead an active lifestyle and do the right thing and be healthy, but pain's getting in the way, do not let that stop you. James Parker here for QC Kinetics. You may be able to get some help from my friends over here at QC Kinetics, and in the best way, in a way that doesn't involve you being cut open and no one's going to be digging around and rooting around in your body. These are treatments that don't require surgery, don't require anesthesiology, don't require stitches. There's not going to be blood everywhere. You're not going to have to be put under. You're not going to have to be in an awkward hospital gown. You go in, you get out. The whole process takes less than 30 minutes. And when you go in for the consultation itself takes less than 30 minutes. And the consultation doesn't cost you anything. So, you know what? Just find out if QC Kinetics can give you that active lifestyle back. Call 972-972-8610. 972-972-8610. Are Indian immigrants good for Texas? I'm James Parker. This is The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. For those of you who are just joining us and you're like, well, that's a little abrasive, hang on. The spirit of the law, the H-1B visa law, you got to bring in people when jobs can't be filled, especially if there are specific skill jobs that can't easily be replaced. Makes no sense for unskilled jobs, but that's not how it's been in practice. What it's been in practice is big companies and corporations exploiting the H-1B visa system specifically to put Americans out of jobs and pay foreigners at a fraction of the cost. Now, granted, it has allowed some of our products that we enjoy here in America, especially on the tech side, to be a little bit cheaper than they otherwise would be, but hundreds of thousands of Americans have lost their careers and had their future flushed down the toilet. And they had this whole career with a degree and all this experience add up to nothing, and they didn't even do anything wrong. They train their replacements, they're thrown out on their butts, and now they can't even go drive Uber or get behind the wheel of a big rig because you got H-1Bs taking up those jobs too. So if we were following the H-1B visa program in the way it was intended, the spirit of the law, I think most people would agree that the Indian immigrants are good for Texas. But there is such thing as too much, and we're past that. Dave in Mineral Wells, or I'm sorry, Daniel in Mineral Wells. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
All right, I just wanted to make a few points. So I'm in the service industry. I'm a residential plumber, and this is one ethnicity where I typically say, dealing with them every single day, 2 to 3, that it's all of them. They don't think they should have to pay for anything. They all live in $500,000 plus houses that I deal with in Plano, McKinney, Irving. And we got to a point at our company where we had to start collecting from these people up front, because when you complete the job, usually it's half down, half when it's done. They refuse to pay the second half, and they start threatening to sue you, saying that that wasn't the issue. And then to top it off, I learned that if the job's $5,000, you have to start at $7,000 because they're going to Jew you down to $5,000 before it's all said and done.
Yeah, maybe we should call it they're going to desi you down now, because I'm hearing this over and over. I don't know if you heard a couple segments ago, I was playing the clip from the Steven Crowder show, which is, y'all, you think this is a big international show, but he's based out of Dallas just like you and I are. He's our neighbor, so he's going through this. And I'm getting that a lot from messages like, who was that? Cleo had sent me a message that says that they have to get paid up front for what she does for a living too, because they never come back and finish the bill. They'll reverse charges on credit cards is what some other people are telling me. Cleo also said that they have equipment that they rent to most of their customers, and they found that they can't rent it to that segment. They literally have to have different rules. And it's a cultural thing. It's not like a race thing. It's not like, well, the color of their skin makes them inferior. No, the fact that the people from this culture think it's okay to not pay the bill and get away with whatever you can get away with, the better, the more you can gain the system, the smarter you are. That's not working out too well with Western civilization now, is it? Brett in New Mexico, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, James. Can you hear me?
You sound great. Go, Brett.
Sound good. So to piggyback on the last guy, I was in McKinney a few weeks ago, and I was touring through the new neighborhoods. And yeah, those houses are, more than 500,000, and they take up a whole city block. So those were houses that are zoned as, single family homes, but those aren't single families living in those homes. And those will never be single families that can afford those homes in the near future. So you're making that actually more like giant apartment complexes, and you're setting those neighborhoods into that. That's going to stay that way forever.
Yeah, Brett, I had a realtor from the area named Kelly Smith on a few times this year, and she was telling me all kinds of real estate laws that they're breaking. If you're going to put a house up for sale and make it available like to the public, then you can't discriminate against, who you put the offer to. But very clearly, they're putting posts online saying, hey, I'll sell to another Indian family for a discount or for cash or whatever. And there's all kinds of laws and rules that are broken. And that should really tick people off because, the guy listening to me, you'll probably get pulled over for a registration sticker being out today. But these guys can come from the other side of the planet and just absolutely rape our system, and they won't hold them to account for anything.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to let you just kick around is historically, Hinduism and Islam do not get along. You can look at India and Pakistan. So you can kind of kick around what's going to happen in the near future importing both of those cultures so massively into the DFW area.
Oh yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, Jammu and Kashmir are lovely places. They never have any conflicts there. And I don't know how much blame Hindus should get for that, because you can't really blame Hindus for not getting along with Islam, because Islam doesn't get along with anybody. Like, if you look at the Islamic world, the contiguous geography of the Islamic world, everywhere they butt up against another civilization, there's conflict. You know, if you go south, there's conflict with Boko Haram in Nigeria. You go north, look at the Balkans and southeastern Europe. You go over a little bit east, and you can see what they're doing in Chechnya with all the rebels in Russia, and it's everywhere. So I'm not sure how much I would blame the Hindus on that, but I don't know. The Hindus don't seem to be getting along with Christians too well in India. We only have one example of them, really. So I don't know if that makes a pattern. All good points, though. Thank you, Brett. Stick with the phones. Steve in Dallas, you're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
Yeah, hi, James. I'm going to bring up a point that I haven't heard anyone mention, and that is the fact that I have twin boys, and we just sent them off to college. And they, even though they're top students, 4.7 GPA, et cetera, and so on, they couldn't get into any of the major Texas universities because those universities are literally flooded with Indian students who are the progeny of these H-1B cheaters. And it's very disheartening. Furthermore, in my business as a physician, I'm learning that Indians hire Indians, and when it comes to disciplinary action, Indians strive for top administrative positions, and then when comes time to discipline somebody, it's the Indians get off easy, and the Caucasian, Black, any other doctors get nailed. So that's all I have to say. Okay.
Well, that means a little bit coming from you, Steve in Dallas, but the fact that I keep hearing this over and over and over, this is really starting to add up. Like, this isn't a one-off. This isn't anecdotal. This isn't just Steve in Dallas being a racist a-hole. If tens of thousands of people are having the same experience, maybe there is a problem. All right, Jimmy Eat World fans. Jimmy Eat World is coming to the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory September 10th with special guests Minus the Bear and Sparta. Get tickets and information at livenation.com. All right, coming up next, there's still some more people with their Indian stories, but we got some other stuff to cover, people. So we'll wrap this up, and then I'll try and get on to a little bit of remembering Dolly Parton. I'll also have a little bit on the meta settlement, and I also have a little bit on this new Dallas Cowboys, and you'll hear his pep talk all coming up in the 4 o'clock hour on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, apparently a lot of your neighbors have some strong opinions when I ask the question, are Indian immigrants good for North Texas? I'm James Parker. It's The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. For those of you just joining the show, don't get all offended or sensitive here, because I think we've all generally agreed that a small amount of Indian immigration for the right reasons, for the right jobs, for the right purposes would be a net positive for Texas. But we're way past that point. We have H-1B visa holders that are coming in, not taking up jobs that Americans won't do, literally kicking them out of their jobs. I played you the story on yesterday's show about the guy who had to train his replacement. And after he was done, he took his life. And I'm not making this up. This isn't some rando posting this on Facebook, and I'm just reading it unverified. This was what J.D. Vance said. This was from August 21st.
I remember when somebody would come to school and tell me that their dad had just found out that he had lost his job, that the factory that employed their parents was going overseas to China or to Mexico. In other cases, American workers didn't just have their jobs destroyed, they got told they were being replaced by a foreign worker, and then they had to train that worker before they got replaced. Some of these stories have made national news, and they've stuck with me. 3 years after the Wall Street Journal called for the free movement of labor, a computer programmer, not a mill worker, a computer programmer by the name of Kevin Flanagan was let go at the bank that he worked at. And the bank, they told him, you're only going to get your severance package if you trained a foreign replacement to do your job instead. And it's a heartbreaking story because he did it. He dutifully did what he was asked to do. And on his last day, he packed up his things, he walked to the office parking lot, he got in his truck, and he shot himself.
So you can't say that the immigration was good for that family. Is the trade-off worth it? Let's go see what your neighbors are saying here before I get in trouble again. Sammy in Oklahoma, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
James, are you familiar with the Sherman Denison area and Choctaw Casino?
Sort of. I've been there a few times. When I played soccer at Buck Tussle Baptist University, we had to play Austin College a couple times. So, I've been there.
Well, I can see the Choctaw Casino from my house every night. But you need to ease up on the Hindus, because we in Oklahoma know how to play football and baseball and basketball. But now they're immigrating to Oklahoma, and we're going to have to learn how to play cricket.
I'm too old to start a new sport. I'm not doing all that.
Well, we're not neither, but yeah, they bought property up here, and they're building cricket fields.
All right. Well, I didn't know y'all had that many up there. And you're on the other side of the river from Denison?
Yes, sir. We're in the Oklahoma side, but yeah, they're migrating north now. So you need to ease up.
All right, good stuff. Thanks for being funny and add a little levity to the show, Sammy. I bet he's fun to hang out with. Let's go to Andrew in Flower Mound. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hi, I just wanted to add that years ago, I worked for a company that was a commercial engineering company out in Westlake. There's a company out there called Sabre, and they did software for like American Airlines and stuff like that.
That sounds familiar.
And all over out in their break rooms, they would have these flyers advertising for them to get basically a reward or money, or to bring their family members over here to help them get a job. And then this girl I was dating that worked there, who was an American, lost her job, lost her house and everything, because they're bringing this cheap labor over. And basically she had to train her replacement, and she had to move back to Oklahoma and go live with her parents because she lost her decent paying job with 2 kids, and we're just getting kicked to the curb for cheap labor. And I now run a commercial HVAC company, and I get the same thing that this plumber just talked about that was out in, I guess, Weatherford or something. And I get the same thing. They try to talk you down. They don't want to pay. And I'm just sick of it. I swore an oath when I was a Marine to uphold the Constitution, and they're not letting me do it.
Man, Andrew, I just keep hearing this over and over and over. And why isn't one of the two major political parties saying we got to end the H-1B visa system?
Well, it's going to be up to the American people to do it because the government is not doing it.
Well, the Democrats don't want to do it because these are people who come here and they vote for Democrats and they donate to Democrats and they use the welfare system that, again, empowers Democrats. So they are so good for Team Blue. Now, for Team Red, my only theory here that makes sense is for Team Red, not the average voter, but for the average donor, the average power player. That you got to think these guys are the ones that own businesses. These are the guys that have software companies. These are the guys that have construction companies. These are the guys that have the employee workforce that would benefit if they could just undercut them silly Americans and import their replacements for half the cost. So, and that's my only theory, because I think the overwhelming majority of Team Red wants this to end, and I think about half of Team Blue wants this to end. Because that's another thing that I've noticed, and thank you very much for your call, Andrew, is my friends that are Democrats, they vote Democrat. They'll even admit that they're liberals and Democrats. Two things. None of them think that men can have a baby. They are all on your side when it comes to most of the trans and LGBTQ issues. And none of them want an open border. This is Matt in Benbrook. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James, what's going on?
Not much.
I just wanted to follow up on that guy who called before the break talking about his child having trouble getting into college because of all the foreign competition, I guess. Well, mine was one who got into a major university. I'm not going to say which one. And she's been there 3 weeks now, and she can't even understand her professor.
Oh, man.
She's Indian.
Yeah.
She's got 3 out of her 4 professors she cannot understand. She's going into engineering. She cannot understand them, and all the Indian kids in class are getting preferential treatment because they're following along just fine. It's very frustrating.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something that Governor Abbott just moved on earlier this year. He's like, I'm going to propose that we end using H-1B visas in our school system. It's like, we were doing that yesterday? Why were we doing this to begin with? All right, Matt, thank you for putting a little bit of color into that black and white picture for us. That's Matt in Benbrook. So I guess the consensus is no, this level of abuse and over immigration, I don't think it's even a problem with Indians. I think we'd have this same complaint if it was Germans coming over. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I think this is a good time to go back and play the Limbaugh laws. You might have heard me play this on the James Show a couple times before. You might have heard Rush Limbaugh when he said it on WBAP years ago. But this, we're going to go back in time and we're going to revisit Rush Limbaugh's immigration proposal next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the big show. Hey, coming up in 2 weeks, the Republican midterm convention is going to be in town. It's going to be here at the American Airlines Center. I'm going to be doing James shows live from the floor of the convention. So you want to tune in September 9th, September 10th. Those are the two big days. When it's those days, just put it on WBAP. Who knows who we're going to be dragging onto the James Show when the big party rolls around. Now, we are in the middle. If you're just joining us, we're talking about immigration again. And there was an interesting back and forth between a couple of podcasters, a couple of streamers here. One of them, his name's Chris Corner. He's based out of Dallas, got a nice little podcast about business. And he was making the case that Indian immigrants are a net positive. And look, I'm not saying all Indians are bad or Indians, like individual Indians. There's nothing negative about any group of people based solely on their race or their ethnicity or any immutable traits. But then I played you Steven Crowder, also another guy who's a comedian, streamer, podcaster based out of the Dallas area who has firsthand knowledge of this. And he gave the other side, and I found his side to be much more convincing. Now, in the interim, we've heard from a bunch of your neighbors, every single one of which agreed with Steven Crowder. Now, I'm sure there's other people that have differing opinions and they just didn't call in, but I don't think this is even close to a 50-50 issue. Now, if you want to catch on to the wisdom from the godfather of talk radio, the great Rush Limbaugh, he has spelled out his immigration preferences long ago, and they've been memorialized in a 90-second video.
Everybody's making immigration proposals these days. Let me add mine to the mix. Call it the Limbaugh laws. First, you immigrate to our country, you have to speak the native language. You have to be a professional or an investor. No unskilled workers allowed. Also, there'll be no special bilingual programs in the schools with the Limbaugh laws, no special ballots for elections, no government business will be conducted in your language. Foreigners will not have the right to vote or hold political office. If you're in our country, you cannot be a burden to taxpayers. You are not entitled to welfare or food stamps or other government goodies. You can come if you invest here, an amount equal to 40,000 times a daily minimum wage. If not, stay home. But if you want to buy land, it'll be restricted. No waterfront, for instance, and as a foreigner, you have to relinquish individual rights to the property. And another thing, you don't have the right to protest. You're allowed no demonstrations, no foreign flag waving, no political organizing, no bad-mouthing our president or his policies. You're a foreigner. Shut your mouth or get out. And if you come here illegally, you're going to jail. Now, you think the Limbaugh laws are harsh? Well, every one of the laws I just mentioned are actual laws of Mexico today. That's how the Mexican government handles immigrants to their country. Yet Mexicans come here illegally and protest in our streets. How do you say double standard in Spanish? How about no mas?
All right, so there's the great Rush Limbaugh doing the Limbaugh laws. And if we had just followed that, would there be any leering sinners controversy? No, because they wouldn't qualify for any of our social programs. So would we have the problem with the home health care or the hospice center fraud or the daycare fraud or the learning fraud or the medical transportation fraud or the H-1B visa fraud? No. I think one of the most frustrating parts about this situation, this storyline, is how easily it would be fixed if only the people in charge wanted to. Kendall in Thorndale, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
James, thanks for taking my call. And what I want to say is the three things that the people from India want to be is attorneys, lawyers, and engineers. They also speak the King's English. And I knew the sales manager for IBM India and also one of the vice presidents. So what they don't realize is that I was talking to Walmart today to order a part, and he was in India. So they speak the King's English, and I've dealt with a doctor who's Parkinson. They go to med school at 17 years of age. So that's the real key there. I didn't know the guy I was talking today was in India. So they're driven to be either engineers attorneys or lawyers?
You know, I think that's to their benefit. That actually speaks well of them. Because when we talk about the Somali immigrants that are coming over here, they're not overwhelmingly falling into these high skill, and it's not just high paying, it's high production there. And what is it, 70-80% of Somali immigrant households are on welfare. After 10 years, it's still above 70%. So what you just said actually, I think makes a good case for more than it is a detriment.
Well, let me say that there's over 100,000 Indians working for IBM.
Oh, I believe that. All right, thank you, Kendall. Let's go to, this is Tyler in Princeton. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, James, thanks for taking my call. Just had a real quick thing because this is all very recent and my first time experiencing this personally. A kind of a twofer for you. My wife works in the health industry. She's home health nurse and recently got laid off from her job because AI somehow was able to take her position. So now that we're looking for jobs, we've been noticing looking through these job listings that a lot of these places, including like Medical City McKinney, they only have job listings for H-1B visa holders. So you can't even apply to, there are pages long, like a lot of positions open that you can only apply to if you had an H-1B visa. Want to get your take on that.
That should be illegal. And in fact, that runs completely afoul to the H-1B visa law, or the spirit of the law. Clearly, no one's getting handcuffs thrown on them and being arrested and charged with a crime for this. But the whole reason the H-1B visa was sold to us was under the guise of this is going to be for the poor small business out there who can't find enough of these hard to find niche skilled workers. And if we have to import them from somewhere, then, as our sort of our last resort, then I guess we'll use these H-1B visas. And now they're just using it to front load the employment search process and pay half of what they were going to pay your wife, Tyler. You know what this is. It's really not that complicated. They're undercutting Americans. They're screwing over Americans for the benefit of not just foreigners, but also the evil, rich businessman who's already making millions and millions of dollars and whatnot. And it's crazy when you put it in the context of like the minimum wage arguments that are happening, because they're like, well, you just don't want wages to go up for poor Americans. I'm like, no, you don't want wages to go up for poor Americans if you're importing their competition. So it's amazing. They only like when wages go up if government is forcing the hand and taking liberty away from people in their private contracts. But when the very obvious negative consequences of a flood of cheap workers comes over here and depresses American wages, I'm a racist if I argue against it. That's a no-win situation there, folks. Dan in Frisco, you're going to be my last word on this, Dan, so don't stink.
Hey, James. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep, go ahead.
I have firsthand experience with this. I've been dealing with, I'm in technology, so I've been hiring regular workers. I've hired H-1B visas. But I can tell you first, they do not make what they're supposed to make as opposed to their American counterparts. Now, most everybody thinks that anyway, but I can tell you firsthand that most of the people that are H-1B visas get paid about 60 to 70%, and some of them even get paid half.
What do you mean? Explain that. Where's the rest of it go?
The rest of it, you're just undercutting the regular worker, right? So you just pay them half the wage, the salary that you would pay an American citizen.
I thought it sounded like someone was skimming.
No, that does happen with some of these companies that actually do the staff hog. I've seen a few executives get let go of that for that sort of thing. But what's really happening though is a lot of these H-1B visa people come over here, and we're not talking about like say you're just your software engineer. We're talking about your executives, and then they infiltrate the bigger companies, and then they start bringing in more H-1B visas, and pretty soon the entire technology departments are consumed by the H-1B visas. And that's where that's what I've been seeing a lot of. And it's very frustrating because even if you have people that you want to bring in that are citizens, They don't want to pay for them.
This ticks me off too because half of the country is so hypersensitive about white people being racist and white people getting preferential treatment and white privilege and white people pulling strings and white people not giving opportunities to other races. And then here is a bald-faced example of it happening over and over all day, every day. And no, they don't see that one. No. We're only concerned about racist if it's against you, if it makes you look bad. If they're screwing you over, though, Parker or Dan in Frisco, then that's not a problem. All right, I got to get off this. I got a couple more things to cover here. First, Meta made a settlement. They were being sued by a bunch of states' attorneys general. And a lot of people think, well, we really stuck it to Meta. No, you didn't. I bet you they like this settlement. You just did them a favor. I'll explain next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, this Meta settlement isn't the slam dunk media's telling you it is. I'm James Parker. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And you've probably heard through someone's newscast somewhere that there was a lawsuit with a bunch of states going against Meta for making their product too addictive. Before I even play the news bite here from Fox News, what a dumb lawsuit. I mean, what an incredibly dumb lawsuit. There are only a handful of businesses that don't want repeat customers. Like maybe the gravedigger, or if you sell caskets, that guy's not going to buy more than one. No, but with notable exceptions. Pretty much the point of every business is to be addicting to their consumer. If you have a restaurant, you want to serve them food so good with service that's so pleasant and an atmosphere that's so comfortable that they get addicted. They have to go back. If you own a store, you want your customers coming back as much as possible. If you're a mechanic, you're not going to go sabotage someone's car. But every time something naturally bad goes wrong with their car, you want them to think of you. This is what is the point behind every commercial you just heard on the last break. When Blue Ribbon Roofing has a customer, they want them to be addicted. They want to give them a great roof, really fast, awesome cleanup, awesome service, helping with the insurance claim, better than they ever expected. So they're addicted. Next time they need a roof, they'll call. This is the modus operandi of almost, and again, I'll say almost every business ever. So the idea that there's some sort of malady, there's something controversial about an app wanting its users to pay more attention to it, it's just bonkers to begin with. It is brain damage levels of stupidity. And I'm tired of pretending like it's not. I hear a lot of people say, well, they did this on purpose. They're hooking these kids. They know what they're doing. All right, let me play the news and then I'll finish tearing this apart.
And breaking just moments ago, an update on Meta's landmark trial. States that filed the lawsuit and Meta agreeing to settle claims that the company's social media platforms harmed children.
I have an iPhone. My children have iPhones, or my kids that have cell phones. Not all of my kids have cell phones. I have 4, and they're not all old enough yet. And you know who makes that decision? The parents. Me and Miss Parker.
Hi, Miss Parker.
But now they say, Meta has to pay billions of dollars, and now we're going to make them have all kinds of new controls. Yeah, that's right. Now it won't be addictive because we have the government stepping in and protecting you. Sorry, that's not how it's going to work. I can already think of 18 ways that is a failed policy before the show's even over. Number one, this is not going to keep kids off of Meta. This is not going to curtail the amount of time they spend on Meta or on Facebook. But when I like to say Meta because this counts all their apps. They have Instagram as well. Now, the $17 billion Facebook doesn't like. That's the negative. That's what the government gets out of it. Now, people are acting like the settlement is Meta has agreed in exchange for the case being dropped, they're going to pay $17 billion and they're going to have all of these new rules forced upon them. No, that's not the way you think about this. What really happened is in exchange for Meta paying $17 billion, their part of the concession is the new rules. And you're like, well, why would they want new rules on themselves? No. It's not going to be new rules on themselves. It's going to be new rules on the social media industry, which means the barrier for entry for any upstart competitor to Meta just made the moat a little bit wider, just made it a little bit more expensive and onerous to rise up and challenge Meta or Instagram or any of the other existing social media platforms that made their rise without these extra rules on them. But kids can get around this in 5 seconds. One of the rules is they won't be able to stay on for more than a certain amount of time, or they won't be able to stay on overnight. And if you think that Meta is just going to say, okay, well, if you have a teen account or a kids account, then you got to follow these new rules. These kids are going to go around them and figure out how to get adult accounts, and it's not going to stop them. And here's the other devious part. For you people who think, well, it's a good idea, we should limit their amount of time. We already have the ability to do that. We have parental controls on our kids' phones, and Miss Parker can go on right now and turn off all their apps if she wants. Or she can say you only get 1 hour a day on Facebook, or you only get 1 hour a day on Instagram, or you only get 1 hour a day on your text messaging. You could shut it down for the whole thing. You can have it only where a handful of people can call in and text, and you make it just family. You can have the whole thing turn off every day at bedtime at 8 o'clock. You can have another rule, one of the rules in the Parker household, no phones in your room. If you're at home and you're using the phone, you have to be in a public space. There's all kinds of rules. Parents can take care of it. The technology was taking care of it. Apple was taking care of it because parents were demanding it. These were totally unnecessary new rules. This was a new grab of power. A new lever of power has just been claimed by the powers that be because of this case. And it's not punishing Facebook. Facebook loves it. You just did them a favor. Damn it. You just calcified the existing elites in their positions in the tech world because you made the moat a little wider for new guys to jump in. Good job. Good job. Economic illiteracy wins again because people are scared. And the whole basis for the argument is, what about the children? Pretty much beats every red flag on the James Show into the ground. They did everything but accuse you of racism in this one. 800-288-9227 if you got anything on that. But coming up next, we're going to end the show on a very positive note. There's a new player on the Cowboys. And it's the first time anyone from his tribe has been in professional football. And I don't mean that as a euphemism, literally his tribe. You'll hear his story next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, the Cowboys have signed the first member of the Navajo Nation to play in the NFL. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And I'd never heard of Shiaz Pete before, but his attitude and the post-game locker room speech, something everyone would like. Now, you can't see him, but he's an Indian. He looks like an Indian, except he's huge, except he's a lineman. He's an offensive lineman. So just imagine an Indian that's about 300 pounds. And what did he do at the combine? He benched, he did 18 reps on the bench press. The bench press is 2 plates on each side, 225 pounds, which I'm a man of size, and that's about my max right now. He did that 18 times, just in a row, just cranked it out. I can run faster than him, though. His 40-yard dash is a 5.46. So I think I got him on that one. But this dude is huge. 6'8" and 3/4 inches, 309 pounds. This guy can really crush some Whataburger. But it's the attitude. It's the humility. It's the friendship, the goodwill. He's not cussing. He's not bragging on himself. Just listen to this. He's a guy, and you got to imagine, he's a rookie. He just signed into the NFL this year. He didn't know if he'd go pro. And I always like to watch these guys because they're 23, 24, and they're walking out into this new world, and it's got to be more than they could have ever imagined. And some of them handle it well. Some of them let it go to their head. Some of them, I don't know, just get all wrapped up in drugs, end up wrecking their car. But listen to this. Shiaz Pete, the post-Cowboys pep talk from August 22nd.
Well, that was an incredible win. I am very fortunate to be amongst you and to play in the same field where the same star hold it on our chest. And I'm proud of us. I'm proud of how far we've come. Man, this game, fate, brought us here as strangers, but this game, this star, this team will make us brothers.
Dang, how do you not like that guy? Seems to really appreciate where he's at. All right, I'm going to end the show today. There's been a lot of great Dolly tributes passed around. Someone asked me to play this, and I was like, sure, you know what, I can play that. Dolly Parton had been on the Johnny Carson show many times throughout her career, enough so that she wrote a song for Johnny Carson. And then the next time she was on his show, she just whipped out a guitar and played it for him live on the show. This is Dolly playing guitar too, by the way. You didn't see her play guitar a lot, but she's killing it.
What's the song you said you made up?
Well, I wrote this song because it's been real good for me ever since I started on your show. And you said one time, once I got to be real famous, I probably wouldn't come back on the show, but I always will. I'm here about as much as you are.
Good friends can say that.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. We can say anything. But I was only kidding because everybody kids you about it.
Yeah.
I only like the show. Well, I think other people do a good job, but I only really like to watch it when you're on.
Thank you.
And I don't call it the Tonight Show. To me, it's the Johnny Carson show.
You're saying all the right things.
No, I'm serious. So,
You want me to hold that for you?
no, I'm going to kick it a little. As good as I can with these nails. But it's all in the words, and it's, you know, I think it is. Now, it's not supposed to be too serious, so. I have come a long way from the hills of Tennessee, and I've worked hard to make the folks back home real proud of me. Now everybody knows my name, no matter where I go, but I never really made it till the Johnny Carson show. Dreamed of stardom since I was just a kid. $1 million dream beneath this $13 wig. In my bell-bottom jumpsuits with my rhinestones all aglow, I became an overnight success from the Johnny Carson show. From polyester paradise to silk and satin frills, from a 48-foot mobile home to a mansion on the hill, from moonshine to rare wine from a Packard to a Rose, but I never really made it till the Johnny Carson show. Now there's only one small problem. Sometimes I get disturbed. The folks sometimes get me confused with Monty Rock the Third. But still I think it's worth it, and I just thought you should know that I'll always owe a special thanks to the Johnny Carson show.
Ah, what a good way to end the show. I'm James Parker. That's going to do it for the James Show. If you need more James Show action, go check out the James Show podcast and all the awesome video clips I put up on all the social medias. Stay put. Mark Levin's coming up next. You're listening to News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP.